Hi guys, Tom Daley here, and today I thought it would be a good idea to give you all a diving lesson. I don't know if anyone knows what they're looking for, what they're looking at when they're watching diving, or how it's scored, or how it works, or anything like that. But I thought today I'd give you a diving lesson on how the judging and scoring works in diving. The easiest way to explain how the scoring works in diving is that there's 7 judges. They all mark out of 10. Once they've given their scores, the 2 highest scores and the 2 lowest scores get taken away. So you're left with the 3 in the middle. And then those 3 scores are added up together and then times by the degree of difficulty to give you the overall score. What is the degree of difficulty, I hear you all ask? Well, the degree of difficulty is a number given to a dive to score how high and how hard the dive is. So the higher degree of difficulty, the harder the dive. The lower the degree of difficulty, the easier the dive. So for example, an easy dive like a forward dive pike, for example, is going to be lower than a forward 4.5. Because obviously there's 4 extra somersaults in there. So with higher degree of difficulty comes higher risk. So if you're doing a harder dive, you may not get as high a score, whereas if you do an easier dive, it's easier to get a higher score, but it's not going to be times by a very high degree of difficulty. So sometimes when we go into competition, we have to risk our dives. We have to try and risk and do the hardest dives we possibly can, because we know that if we nail it and if we land on our head, then the scores are going to be big. But the harder the dive, the more riskier it is. So when I was younger, I used to do a lot easier dives and gradually work my way up to now doing some of the hardest dives in the world. Now, every judge has to look at the dive and give it a score within seconds. You don't get any replays. You don't get to see the dive again in slow motion or anything like that. You've just got to give it an overall impression score there and then. Now, the judges look at lots of different things. The approach, the takeoff, the flight, and the entry into the water. Now, everything is very, very, very down to what you just see. If you saw something that went really quick or went over or from vertical or all those kinds of things, you can mark it down and take deductions. For example, judges can take marks off for bent legs if you're in a pike shape, bent legs going through the water, unpointed feet, fingers that are out of line, if you go into the water slightly over from vertical or short of vertical, if you don't jump high enough, if you don't actually elevate off the board and straighten your legs. There's so many different things that judges can take away points for. But the main thing is, and the best thing that you have to look out for, is the rip entry. Now, the rip entry is one of the most crucial things in diving, because if you hit the water with no splash, the judges are going to give you big marks. And sometimes they forget what they've seen before to give you the big marks because you've just gone into the water and done a bit of a Houdini and disappeared into nothing. Now, I hope that's helped you understand how diving scoring works a little bit, but the main thing really is 7 judges, they score out of 10, they take the 2 highest and the 2 lowest away, you're left with 3 scores, and then they times it by the degree of difficulty. And the judges mark out of 10 on the approach, the takeoff, the flight, and the entry into the water. But all you really have to look out for really are pointed toes and no splash. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment and tell me what other things in diving you want to know about. Any diving tips, and if you're going on holiday, anything like that, let me know, and hopefully I'll be able to tell you and answer all your questions about diving. And don't forget to subscribe.